I feel like there's a correlation between the Grinch and Scrooge. They just need to be nourished a little bit more. They need more love. Why did I turn into the Godfather? It's fine. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. Today I'm going to be showing you how you can transform yourself into Ebenezer Scrooge. This is the last part to my 2017 12 Days of SFX-mas, and I'm so happy to be ending it with Ebenezer Scrooge. I absolutely love how this turned off, so I'm really happy to be ending it with a bang. I will be posting more Christmas videos for the rest of the month and like some Christmas tag videos and really having fun with just some Christmas party looks. So I'm going to be talking more about that in my SFX-mas holiday wrap-up, which should be coming out in a few days, so stick around for that to kind of figure out my game plan for the rest of the month. But if you want to learn how to transform yourself into Ebenezer Scrooge, just keep watching. Hey guys, so to start off we're going to be making our prosthetics. So for this I'm just going to be taking some petroleum jelly on my fingers and applying that to the life cast. I'm going to be applying it to the nose and the surrounding areas. This is going to help whenever we remove the prosthetic from the life cast. It's going to help so it doesn't stick so much, and it is going to release a lot easier, and it's going to stay together more. So for my mixture, I'm going to be taking some latex and a little bit of flour. You're typically going to be using an equal ratio of latex to flour. I kind of just eyeballed it, and I ended up having to add more latex so the consistency was smoother. You do want it to be like a paste, kind of very much like toothpaste, and so it is easy to mold and has a very doughy kind of feel to it. Then we're going to go ahead and apply it right onto the prosthetic. Now, this was the first time I ever tried the latex and flour technique, and it was definitely more difficult than I was anticipating. The problem with this is you're trying to mold a nose, but it's not like you're molding it on clay where you can add a bunch of details and really get the shape that you're looking for. It's a lot of speculated guesswork. You're trying to make it as smooth as possible, but noses aren't completely smooth. They have pores in them, so there's these awkward ridges, and so to smooth it out, you're just going to be taking some extra latex onto your finger and just applying it over top and just trying to smooth it out as much as possible, because then we can go in and add texture during the makeup application rather than trying to sculpt it. I did have to go between using my fingers and the spatula to try and get the shape I wanted, so currently I'm actually just going over my nose and kind of making it bigger than it currently is. You're also going to want to try to be careful with your edges and have them be as paper thin as possible, so that way when you can apply it, you are going to blend them off. I ended up making them way too thick, so what I probably would have done is taken a tissue to them, how you can see it's kind of chunky on the forehead, and started to smooth it away so that you can have a nice, smoother, more realistic blending job. So the main focus of this prosthetic is definitely the tip of the nose. I was using the animated Disney version of A Christmas Carol, so I was referring to Scrooge's nose in that, and he has a very elongated beak-like nose, and it comes to a point over his mouth. So trying to get that size and length for the nose was incredibly difficult, because once again the consistency is like a dough. It wants to fall. There's nothing keeping it up. The gravity is pulling it down. So I had to keep using a popsicle stick, my spatula, and my fingers to try and lift it. I found that it was easier to start to dry it with a hair dryer, because then it would have more strength as it hardens. But so currently I'm actually just sculpting the tip, trying to get the narrow shape of the nose that I like, just kind of forming it as best as I can and trying to bring it to a tip and lifting it when I need to. Some finishing touches for this nose was to be taking some extra latex and smoothing it out because some of the ridges were too unrealistic. Then once again, you're just going to be taking a hair dryer and drying this. I ended up starting to peel it away when I thought it was finished, which was about an hour and a half afterwards, and I found that it wasn't completely dry on the inside yet, so I just left it overnight, came back in the morning, took some baby powder, and started to slowly, carefully peel away the edges, adding powder where I was lifting it up, and then making sure it was completely powdered at the very end so that your prosthetic is more stable and durable and it's not sticky. Once we finish with that, we are going to be starting on the chin. Now, I actually was not originally going to make a chin, and then I decided last minute that I felt like a chin would complete this look, and it really did. I'm really happy I created it. So once again, I'm just going to be taking some petroleum jelly, applying it to my life cast, and then doing the same mixture of flour and latex and starting to build the chin. This was much easier because you're just building off of what you already have. You're not creating any new shapes really, except making it more pointed. So once again, you want to try and smooth off the edges as much as possible so it looks more realistic, and try to get the shape of the nose as smooth as possible so there aren't any lumps or anything like that, and so it will blend seamlessly into your natural skin. Once again, once you're done with that, you just want to go ahead and take a hair dryer to your latex so it will dry faster, or like me, you could leave it out for a few hours and dry it anymore if you need to. You're going to be taking your baby powder to the edges, making sure to brush it to the inside as well, and voila, you have two beautiful prosthetic pieces. You have a beautiful nose piece and a beautiful chin piece as well. Now, if you saw when I took up the chin piece, it does have a little bit of the latex on the inside, so you're just going to take some extra baby powder and apply that so it doesn't transfer onto your nose or chin. Now onto the makeup application. So you're just going to be taking your prosthetic nose and some spirit gum and applying the spirit gum to your nose, allowing it some time to get tacky. You can also speed up this process by taking some pantyhose and stippling that on, and then you're just going to press the prosthetic nose on top of that. Hey guys, okay, so interrupting really fast because I thought I gestured to it in the video, but I guess I did not. Anyway, so obviously my prosthetic is smaller than what I had just showed you guys, and that is because I cut my prosthetic. Now here's the thing, do not ever cut a prosthetic. It's not what you're supposed to do. I did it because my edges were absolutely horrible and I knew I was going to blend them with tissue paper. However, the goal is whenever you are molding and making your prosthetic to make the edges blend off and make them as thin as possible. That is why when you run foam molds, you have a barrier and all this other technical stuff of doing it professionally. But I did not do that, and so I was not able to thin out the edges as much as I tried and hoped to do, and they weren't paper thin like they were supposed to be. So just saying, I did cut the prosthetic, but you're not supposed to do that, or you really should try everything in your power not to do that, because the problem is that creates sharp edges and it makes that unrealistic, because typically everything would blend naturally into the skin and it won't look as realistic if you have a harsh triangular line or something like that. But I knew that I could try to resolve it using tissue paper, but I am just saying, don't make it a habit to cut a prosthetic. That's not something that you want to do, and frankly, it is the unprofessional way to do it, but I did it, so I'm gonna be honest, I did cut the prosthetic, but that's not what I would recommend. Just try to blend out the edges as much as possible, maybe try and use tissue, but I had to cut it because I was trying to blend it out, and then I just made a huge latex mess where it was like a puddle, and yeah, that was how I decided to remedy it. But I know my SFX professors and prosthetic professors are probably yelling at me in their heads right now. So just, if you can avoid it, try not to cut the edges of prosthetic. I know that was long-winded, but anyway, yeah, okay. Have fun. Let's continue. To blend out the nose, you're going to be taking a mixture of your prostate and cabosil, and you're going to once again get a paste-like substance. So you're just going to be applying that to the edges, brushing it up, trying to blend it and create a ramp between your skin and the prosthetic. Now, I actually had to use more Bondo than I was anticipating because, once again, my edges were absolutely horrendous. And so after cutting them, I really had to try and blend them out and make it look as realistic as possible. So once you've done that, you're going to be moving on to the chin piece, once again taking some spirit gum, applying it to your chin, applying the prosthetic, and then going over it with some Bondo. Then we're going to be taking our liquid latex and applying that all over the nose and surrounding areas with a sponge. This is going to start to create a similar texture between our skin and the nose, and we're also going to be going over it with some tissue paper to blend out the edges better. You're also going to be wanting to apply some latex to your chin and surrounding areas as well. Taking my Graftobian Derma Rubber Mask Grease Paint Wheel, I'm then going to be creating my own personal skin tone color. Now this, I actually had to do a bunch of mixing and just Frankenstein colors, and ended up coming up with one that was a little pale, but it is completely fine, and it's better to be more pale than too tan because we're actually going to be going in with our alcohol color paints later, and this is going to add more texture, dimension, and it is going to add the sunspots and darken the skin more realistically this way than if you just made your entire face tan. You're then going to be adding some fresh latex and applying the tissue so that the tissue connects from the edge of your prosthetic to the inner part of your cheek. This is going to have a nice smooth blend job as opposed to having just an entire drop off on your face. We're then going to be taking our Skin Illustrator Flesh Palette, taking a mixture and combination of these 4 colors, and we're just going to be applying that all over our prosthetic. We're going to allow this to seep in to the cracks so it gives a more realistic texture. I'm also going to be taking this duo fiber stippling brush and applying that into the alcohol paints as well, and just stippling that all over my face. I'm also going to be taking some of the darker colors and concentrating that over towards my nose, my cheeks, and especially using that to contour the nose as well. I'm then going to be taking Rose Adjuster and a little bit of Prime Red and applying that all over the face, but primarily applying that to the nose because Scrooge has this incredibly tomato red nose, so we're just really focusing on bringing that out. We're then going to be going back into our Graftobian Rubber Mask Grease Wheel, and we're going to be taking the lighter color and creating the highlights for the bags under his eyes and his wrinkles. So I'm just going to be making numerous facial expressions to really bring out his crow's feet, the bags under his eyes, the highlights on his nose, and his jowls. We're also going to be taking the darker colors from our Derma Wheel palette, and we're going to be creating the crevices in his wrinkles. And so you're going to be putting this under every single highlight. I find that it is easier to do the highlight first and then go over with the contour afterwards, because this is going to create more realistic wrinkles and help make it less muddy, because if you apply highlight over the contour or the shading by accident, it is likely going to look fake and muddy and unrealistic. Then I'm going to be taking my Graftobian Pro Paint in Graveyard Gray and a little bit of my Maryland Paradise Paint in black, and I'm going to be using this to create his stubble on his face. I'm going to be applying it mostly under his nose and a little bit on his chin as well, bringing it down to the neck. I'm going to be applying a few more highlights to his forehead because I discovered that, hey, there's more angry wrinkles up there, so I wanted to accentuate those so he looks mean and nasty all the time. I wanted to create a little bit more of a bony shape to my Scrooge, so I decided to take some of my brown Rubber Mask Grease Paint and create contour. So I decided to really chisel out the cheekbones because this is going to make him look more skinny, famished, just really malnourished. I then added some of my white Rubber Mask Grease Paint on top of that to create a highlight, and I made sure to apply it right over top and above so that way I didn't muddy up the makeup. I'm then going to be taking my Ben Nye Bruise Wheel, taking the purple color because it actually comes off a little bit more red and more like an irritated color. And I'm just going to be applying that around my eyes to kind of give that reddened old age look to it. Then we're all going to be going back into a Rubber Mask Grease palette and we're going to be creating some wrinkles on our eyelids, applying it everywhere that you see a crease. And this Scrooge needs some sideburns, so I'm just applying some Spirit Gum under my contour and then applying my crepe wool hair in light gray over top once it has gotten tacky. I'm then going to be elongating his mouth so it looks like he is always frowning all the time. So I'm just going to be taking a little bit of my black body paint and I'm just going to be bringing that downwards so it kind of connects with the jowls a little bit. I'm then going to be taking my NYX lip liner actually in red tape and applying that to my lower waterline. Then I'm going to be sweeping some Graveyard Gray body paint into my eyebrows. And that is the completed look. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Leave a comment down below what video you'd like to see next. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of my videos. It's been an amazing 12 days of SFX-mas. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye! See, this is why you don't get wigs from the Halloween store unless you intend to cover it up with a hat, because in what reality does this look real?